And now, the puppet Lego pattern with Theo Chatzimichos.
Hello from me as well. I'm very glad that I'm here because I was the main organizer of this conference last year, and I'm pretty satisfied that it's being done in my years. In my years here. Thanks a lot for coming. I hope you have fun, and you have fun as well for the rest of the conference. So, I'm going to start my presentation a little bit. How many of you are system integrators or no? Okay. Okay, I'm going to start with a story about a system administrator. So, once upon a time, there was a powerful system administrator that had hundreds of servers. He remembered all of the config files, he automated everything, and deployed all of the services, and that we never had to test anything. His quick fix, like git am trivial fix, they were always clean, and he managed to have like serious uptimes. And one day, the main server had an configuration, and what do you think it happened? Yeah, you're close. So main server turned to the pumpkin. I'm going to be serious from now on, and I'm going to talk about Puppet and Legos. And users. So, first of all, a few words about me. I'm Theo, I'm from Greece, but now I'm living in Prague, where I'm working for SUSE, for the QA and intense engineer. I'm in various competitions, like parsing, I'm mentoring in summer code, I'm in various conferences under the booth, and I was one of the main organizers of the previous SUSE conference. And what I like to do in my free time is mostly web development, like backend web development, and some server automation, mostly with Puppet. And this talk is going to be, this talk is going to be about Puppet and some best practices that the Puppet guys are trying to enforce us. And I'm already using them, so it's mostly my personal experience, but it's something that pretty much works very well and I would like to share. So unfortunately, this talk is intended for an audience that is already familiar with such technology. That's why I had a workshop like 2 days ago, and whoever of you were at the workshop, I hope that you will be more familiar with what I'm talking today. And the actual topic is how to organize your Puppet modules into a blocks hierarchy, and how to do that, and why we should follow an hierarchy in our Puppet modules. And apart from that, I'm going to speak a bit about testing, various like unit testing, acceptance testing, and some other philosophies we use into regular programming and how they can be used into system administration as well. Also, I'm going to present a few tools that are being developed either by the community or by the Puppet Labs, the company behind Puppet, and that help us achieve a better hierarchy and also testing and for other uses. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about Puppet in openSUSE and some tools that are openSUSE specific. So, the reason that configuration management is so messy today is because it's a lot and hard work. For those of you that have been into Lars' presentation earlier about the openSUSE infrastructure, you saw that there were a bunch of services that were maintained or they were deprecated because the original developer left and there was nobody to maintain the server or some service. So the problem is that even with a technology like Puppet or Ceph, still our code, our manifest can get pretty messy and pretty ugly in no time if we apply a bunch of trivial fixes. So the problem is actually that there are no best practices. Like traditional programming is something that had like 40 years to develop best practices and how to write good and clean code and documented code, but with such technology, it's mostly hacks and mostly experienced by people. So, since it's a pretty young concept, there are no best examples yet. We should be able to try a few things first and then present something like more appreciated to the people. So, one of the Puppet guys, Andre and Ibo, tried to enforce an approach, a best practice called the Lego pattern. Since, in short, he explains how to organize the Puppet modules in a hierarchy like we would do with Legos in order to build something. In this case, we are building services. So a Puppet module should be modular because they are called modules. They should be generic and reusable. That means that the Puppet module should be like clean and should not be very tight to our infrastructure. So it should be easy for us to swap them and replace them. So if I have, for example, like 3 or 4 Apache Puppet modules, I should be able to work to achieve the same result with any of them. So just like Lego blocks, where we can use them and we don't care which one we take in order to build something better. And this is pretty much based on the Unix philosophy, where it follows the 3 rules: the rule of modularity, the rule of composition, the rule of separation. And here are, and for the following, I'm going to present how to organize the blocks into like 4 major categories. The first one is the base blocks, where the base blocks, like the Puppet modules that are already reusable, can be used in any case, in any infrastructure. They should do only one thing and do it well. That means that, for example, if we have, again, the example of an Apache module, it should only handle the Apache vhost. It should not handle any database, any firewall, or whatever a web page needs. It should only be very specific to Apache configuration. And as a next step of the hierarchy, we should have the weird blocks. The weird blocks, like the one that we see here in the picture, where they act as a middleware. They are very tied to our infrastructure, or they can actually not be tied to our infrastructure in some cases. But what they do actually is that they join a lot of the base blocks in order to combine them and create something better. Then we need the services. The services are like the Lego kits. We see Lego kit there. So in such a category, we combine the previous modules in order to actually use all the configurability that they offer us to take advantage of it. So we only usually include other classes. So a service module would be like include Apache, include database, include, I don't know, firewall. And it should be using some more attributes, like I want the Apache to be run in port 80 and I don't know, the firewall to be blocking this range. So this is very tight to our infrastructure, and this is the part that is kept secret. The first two queries, like this, blocks be served to any audience. And the last one is the part that is doing something that is it's actually very slow to say. So it means that the rows that looks the one is here. It's the line of our and it's very tight to our infrastructure, which means it's those who get certain that the security will understand how our infrastructure. And that is they take previous services, and then for that a category called WordPress, then we can take this WordPress Puppet module and create our blog with the domain and everything. It is also the module that controls the system access, while in the previous categories it could be, we could assume that they don't even touch our infrastructure. And it is where the complete web app stacks are provided. And I'm talking a lot about web apps because it's what we deploy most often these days. And some of the pros why you should follow this hierarchy. Well, as I said, the first two layers are completely reusable. They can be swapped, so it means that we have less code duplication, since we can reuse them in various places, in various infrastructures, or even give them to other people. And even better, we can reuse some of other people's code into our infrastructure. We can also do easier refactoring, and that's very important because we tend to we tend to refactor a lot our code, and when we write traditional application, but it's very often that we need to refactor our infrastructure as well, and maybe things can get messy much easier here and more dangerous. And we can also have better testing. I'm going to expand about testing a bit more in the next slide. So as I said, they are also completely reusable. They can be shared. We can use other people's blocks and modules, and we can even upload them to the Puppet forge. I saw it in my workshop, the Puppet forge. For those that don't know it, it's a central application central application store, let's say, that Puppet Labs has provided to the community, where we can share our Puppet modules, and the base blocks are exactly the candidates that we want to provide to other people, so they don't have to deal with our specific infrastructure stuff. And as I said, we can use somebody else's code, which means less work, more time for beer. And a few things about testing. So as we saw here, the configuration management can share the traditional programming that we apply to traditional programming, and we can also do that for various philosophies and for various tools that we use into a traditional application. And the first and very important is that we can have like an MVC configuration, let's say, for our Puppet modules, because they have templates, and we can use, let's say, our base blocks as the controller, and our services as some kind of model. So we can combine all those layers, and we can create an MVC-like structure for our application. From that part, whatever you read about MVC into Rails or Django documentation can also be applied here. And I'm talking about the philosophy itself. Another thing that I tend to do very often, and I think it's very important, is that I categorize my tests in every application, and also, as well, it can be applied into Puppet modules here, because when we categorize our tests, it's much more easy to create new tests, and it's much more easy to run a block of tests that affect only some specific case. And as I said earlier, we tend to refactor a lot, and the only way to prevent regressions is to write tests. Fortunately, Puppet provides all kinds of tests, provides unit tests, and we can also use RSpec, the Ruby tool. It's very popular in the Rails community that is enforcing behavior-driven development. RSpec can be used mostly for either acceptance testing or for integration testing, but as a black box. If we want, though, to test our templates or our manifests, there is RSpec Puppet. It's a tool that is obviously it's on top of RSpec, and it can be used for Puppet manifests, for the Puppet DSL, instead of plain Ruby. Well, though, since Puppet supports also plain Ruby, if we want to extend it with a native typing provider, custom one, we can use both those tools for various cases. And another very nice tool is Vagrant. It's another virtual machine configuration system, and it's developed I think by Puppet Labs, and it's the purpose of its existence is to be able to create virtual machines that can be similar to each other, so we can more easily reproduce some problems between various places. And it's a tool that it's very easy to set up, and we can even use it I don't know, in our laptops. It doesn't have many needs. And the last tool that I found very useful is RTMK. It's for packaging and for installation of the Puppet modules, where it has a structure similar to the gem files of Ruby, for those that know it. So we don't have to use like Git submodules and other dirty hacks or bash scripts to install our Puppet modules in our system. And for those that are using Git submodules, I hope that you share with me the maintenance pain that they create. That's pretty much all that I wanted to say. And as last thing, I would like to point you to this book called Puppet Types and Providers. It's written by Puppet Labs guys, and it's a book very small, like 60 pages, I think. But it covers all of the dark corners of Puppet on how to create native types and providers, like and extend it with Ruby, with plain Ruby. And I know, Ruby is not actually needed for Puppet, but it's highly recommended since you can you can have much more flexibility if you know the language. For openSUSE specifically, there is a open called Puppet zip repo where we can find repositories from the OBS. But apart from that, there has been a patch from Marcus Rickert.
The Puppet zip repo, what's the difference between that one that you've listed there and the one that's on Puppet Labs that's done by a different developer?
There is one about zip repo.
Yeah.
About servers.
Yeah. Download.
Yeah, it's gonna use it work for me. I have to turn on. Actually, Marcus the origin nerf here, for the name supplier, we can use the package stuff, and it also can accept the insert sent to Latin, but I'm sure it's sparse or not yet. There's also the first file module and some other tools that we have in openSUSE and like OC and some other others, and we need to compile the idea and propose them as next summer quality, or just put the kernel in some easier to create something. And also there's the idea, there's the opposite idea, how to bootstrap Puppet the Marcus. That was already posted summer for the idea of me, but unfortunately did. So that was all that I wanted to say. As an bonus, I would like to mention that openSUSE is hiring, and it has been great, been there for enough, and I'm very, very glad that they were able, and force you to also consider things up there. It's a web page with all the positions that we have. Hello, thank you. And I'm open to questions. No questions. Thank you. No questions.
No questions. No questions.